Perhaps music is the most expressive of the arts. However, as a photographer, I believe that creative photography, when practiced in terms of its inherent qualities, may also reveal endless horizons of meaning.
What makes a moment worth capturing? What is it about it that makes us look back to a place in time? Something unique, something worth remembering.
A good photo, it's where it stops you and you have to look at it. G'day, Josh Martin. I'm an amateur photographer. I do it on the side. I'm a full-time mechanic. I've been doing photography since I was 14. So I'm really big into studio photography. I like to do black and white portraits. I like to have a lot of shadow in my work, show a lot of detail, facial features. Just try and capture emotion, as hard as it is sometimes. But yeah, it's the biggest thing, trying to capture emotion. I know a lot of people that love to fiddle with a camera and use it. A lot of people like to use Photoshop. Yeah, I play with the settings on the camera to get them right, and then I try to use Photoshop as minimal as possible, try to keep the photo raw. I like to capture the image, manipulate it a little bit in Photoshop and just leave it as that. It doesn't necessarily have to tell a story, but just keep you interested long enough to look at it and look at the little details of the photo and really appreciate it. Yeah, it's probably have to be one of my favourites. I've really captured something there, I find. The shadow on his right hand side of his face and just the look in his eyes, I suppose.
My name's Tim Bergen. I'm a photographer. My main interest in photography is bird photography, but nature generally. I like being able to put my eye to the viewfinder and get a better feel for the shot you're going to get. Some people tell me they reckon I capture the a bit of the character of the animal or the bird that I'm photographing. What really got me more serious about photography was trying to learn about the birds that were around. When I was growing up, I was brought up in Bathurst from about 8 years old, and then lived in Sydney for 8.5 years, and then lived in England for a couple of years. When I got back to Bathurst, I had more of an appreciation for the place. When I was younger, I couldn't wait to get out of here. So yeah, it was an interest in learning about the other life forms that are around, which where I happened to live was mostly birds. My wife and I went for a holiday to Cuba a few years ago, and I've got a shot of this lady who she was sitting in one of the squares, and I got a couple of photos of her, and I really just sort of captured something about her face. She had a really interesting face, a lot of character, yeah, it's just for a portrait of somebody, I really like it. I've got a lot of feedback from other people who really like the shot. I read a story about a photographer who he had one of his favourite photo was a photo of Mahatma Gandhi. He got to meet him, and this is Gandhi, would only let him take one photo. This guy was a professional photographer, so he wasn't happy with that, but that's what he had. And it's not particularly detailed, but it was this guy's favourite shot, and it was a really nice shot. It's grainy, but it's got a lot of captures feeling, and the image of Gandhi, like sitting at a spinning wheel, with a little bit of light coming onto him. Yeah, it worked. It worked because it was nicely composed. and you can still nicely compose something and capture feeling and whatever with any device, I suppose. It can be, you know, a crappy camera, it can be a good smartphone, it can be a really nice expensive camera.
With the new age of technology, we see smartphones with cameras and automated devices. Does this now mean that we see an age where photography is becoming consistent with landfill?
No one's ever won an award off Instagram, I suppose.
I often hear of younger people, generally, but not necessarily, taking thousands of photos of themselves.
It's like anything, how much effort you put into something is going to affect the result.
It's part of the social media thing. There's the look at me, this is a picture of me, which is, I guess it's fine if it piques people's interest in photography, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't necessarily, that's part of the thing with photography, you don't have to have the most expensive equipment, or the best lens, or the best camera. I guess it's capturing a feeling and or a moment, makes it memorable, makes it worth looking at. If they're too close, it's just a matter of just sit there and appreciate it for what it is, because I can't take a shot. But that's also, you know, an amazing sort of thing anyway.
It's a person's moment in time, a moment that will never come again, so we ought to capture it right.
It stops you and makes you realise how special it is.